Hello and welcome to the newsroom, breaking this hour. First things first, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth confirmed that an American submarine sank the Iranian frigate Iris Dana on March 4, 2026, off the southern coast of Sri Lanka. The ship, which had been returning to Iran after participating in the Milan 2026 naval exercise, was struck by a torpedo in international waters. The attack resulted in the loss of almost 150 sailors, with 87 bodies recovered so far. 61 sailors remain missing and 32 survivors are receiving medical treatment. Hegseth called the strike quiet death and noted that this marked the first such attack on an enemy since World War II. Listen in to the statement made by the U.S. Secretary of War.
Yesterday, in the Indian Ocean, and we'll play it on the screen there, an American submarine sunk an Iranian warship that thought it was safe in international waters. Instead, it was sunk by a torpedo. Quiet death. The first sinking of an enemy ship by a torpedo since World War II. Like in that war, back when we were still the War Department, we are fighting to win.
And now joining us is Ayanaba Banerjee from NewsX World. Mr. Banerjee, what else can you tell us about this story, please?
Thank you, Roshan. We just heard the U.S. Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, confirming the fact that U.S. has struck an Iranian warship off the coast of Sri Lanka. Now, this is the first time in the past few days of the U.S.-Israel-Iran war that the war has sort of reached the Asian continent. This time, the U.S. has struck this Iranian warship with a torpedo, and let me tell you, Roshan, this is a very interesting fact that it's the first time since World War II that U.S. has downed a warship in the ocean. Now, this warship, IRIS Dana, it was coming back from India actually. It was docked in the eastern part of our nation. It was coming from a festival that it was attending along with its crew members. It's also very important to note that these crew members were not involved in the war as of yet, but still the warship got struck. So the warship coming from the eastern region of India was going through the southern part of Sri Lanka. It was there when it was struck by torpedoes of US submarines. Right now, as of now, we know that 87 have been confirmed to be dead. More than 30 people are still missing, and there are some who are getting immediate medical care in southern Sri Lanka, in the hospitals of southern Sri Lanka. This is all we know of this situation right now. Back to you, Roshan, in the studio.
Please stay with us. We'll be right back with you. Now, next up, U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has dismissed China and Russia as non-factors in Washington's decision-making when it comes to the war against Iran. Russia and China have long-standing diplomatic and trade ties with Iran, while Russia has close military links to the country. Both Moscow and Beijing have criticized the U.S.-Israeli war to topple the Iranian government and destroy its military. Listen in.
What is your message to Iran's allies, namely Russia and China, who have called for an immediate end to hostilities?
I don't have a message for them, and they're not really a factor here. And our issue is not with them, it's with the nuclear ambitions of Iran.
This comes as Russia has accused the United States of using an imaginary threat from Iran as a pretext to overthrow its constitutional order, and said Washington's calls for Iranians to seize power from their leaders were cynical and inhumane. Listen in to what the Russian President Putin stated.
Разрастание беспрецедентной эскалации напряженности в регионе настало следствие неспровоцированного, подчеркну, нападения США и Израиля на Иран. Россия самым решительным образом осудила очередную опасную авантюру американо-израильского тандема против Исламской Республики. Подлое убийство главы иранского государства аятоллы Али Хамини и ряда представителей высшего военно-политического руководства этой страны. Нет никаких сомнений, что мнимая, как многократно на протяжении многих лет заявлялась, придуманная иранская угроза была лишь предлогом для реализации давно вынашивавшегося плана по насильственному свержению конституционного, подчеркну, строя в неугодном Вашингтону и Тель-Авиву суверенном государстве, опять же, подчеркну, члене Организации Объединенных Наций. А возобновленный переговорный процесс стал...
And now we're joined by Ayanaba Banerjee from NewsX World. Sir, what more can you tell us?
What we see, Roshan, now happening, it's a very interesting play of the geopolitics right now. We already know that US and Russia fall on the different sides of the spectrum. Both have different political ideologies and both have always been in competition with each other. Now, if we think about allies, we generally and very naturally think about US along with Israel and the Western European nations. And on the other side, what we think of is communist allies like Russia, China coming together, and maybe at times North Korea as well. But surely and most certainly, for the past couple of years, Iran has become a very big ally of both Russia and China. Now it's not a huge brainer that obviously if Iran is being attacked by US and Israel, Russia and China will come in support of the nation of Iran and the Persians. We know Russia is already fighting a war with Ukraine has been ongoing since February 22nd of 24th of 2022. Now that war is not stopping. That war was supposed to be stopped by US President Donald Trump. Donald Trump has earlier stated that when he comes to power, he will stop the Russia-Ukraine war within a few days. But as we see now, he has been unable to stop the Russia-Ukraine war. But what we see is that he himself has started a few wars for himself. Right now, we are only hearing statements coming from Russia. There are statements that are being made by China as well, which are on the same lines, which are all supporting Iran. Only time will tell if this verbal support translates into something more physical. We don't know as of yet if Russia and China will get involved in the war, or if they have plans of getting involved in the war indirectly, maybe by sending missiles, maybe by sending, if not missiles, maybe by sending fuel to Iran if Iran needs it. So that is something only time will tell. What we see right now happening is a war of words between two of the biggest opposition groups in the world. Back to you, Roshan.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Banerjee. Now, next up, U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that the worst-case scenario for Iran could be the emergence of a new leader as dangerous as the late Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, who was killed in an airstrike on February 28, 2026. Speaking alongside German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Trump stated that Iran's military capabilities had been significantly weakened, with U.S. forces targeting missile stockpiles and launch sites. Trump acknowledged the volatility of the the situation and advised Iranians against protesting, citing the dangers of ongoing airstrikes. He emphasized that the U.S. wanted a better future for Iran, but warned that the outcome could still lead to leadership no better than the previous regime. Let's now listen to what the U.S. president had to say.
I don't know if this is a worst case. We have them very much beaten militarily from the military standpoint. They're still lobbing some missiles. At some point, they won't even be able to do that because we're hitting all of their carriers. We're hitting all of their missile stock. You know, they built up all these missiles over the last few years. They had a lot of them. They've shot a lot of them, and we're knocking out a lot. I guess the worst case would be we do this, and then somebody takes over who's as bad as the previous person, right? That could happen. We don't want that to happen. It would probably be the worst. You go through this, and then in 5 years you realize you put somebody in who was no better. So I'd like to see somebody in there that's going to bring it back for the people. And we'll see what happens with the people. You know, they have their chance. And we've said, don't do it yet. If you're going to go out and protest, don't do it yet. It's very dangerous out there. A lot of bombs are being dropped. But I would say that would be about the worst.
Next up, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has stated that U.S. and Israeli air forces will defang the Iranian regime through increased attacks, weakening its military capabilities. Speaking at the U.S. Capitol on March 3rd, Rubio emphasized that the two most powerful air forces in the world would dismantle Iran's ability to threaten its neighbors and pursue nuclear ambitions. Rubio highlighted that U.S. forces would systematically target Iran's missile program, military factories, and Navy. He also made it clear that the U.S. would not wait to be struck first, prioritizing the safety of American troops. Let's listen in.
The timing, the president acted on the timing that gave us the highest chance of success. And that's what you're seeing play out right now. You're seeing it play out right now, and you'll see it in the days to come. We will systematically take apart their missile program. We will destroy their ability to sponsor terrorism, by the way. We will destroy their factories. We will destroy their Navy. The president determined we were not going to get hit first. It's that simple, guys. We are not going to put Americans' troops in harm's way. If you tell the president of the United States that if we don't go first, we're going to have more people killed and more people injured, the president's going to go first. That's what he did. That's what the president will. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their Navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon.
Meanwhile, Rubio also confirmed that approximately 9,000 Americans had evacuated the Middle East since the start of U.S.-Israeli strikes on Iran, as Washington ramps up efforts to assist citizens seeking to leave the region. Let's listen in.
The State Department is now actively, as it has been now for the last 72 hours, implementing our plans to help Americans in the Middle East be able to depart. As of a few minutes ago before I left, 9,000 Americans have been able to leave the region since the start of this war. We have about 1,500 Americans that are requesting assistance with departure. We have identified and continue to identify charter flights, military flight options, and expanded commercial flight options, meaning working with the airlines to send bigger airplanes with more seats, and the combination of those three things. As I came in, I also saw the media reports about Dubai's consulate. The last update I had with seconds before getting before these cameras was that a drone unfortunately struck a parking lot adjacent to the Chancellery building and set off a fire in that place. All personnel are accounted for. As you're aware, we began drawing down personnel from our diplomatic facilities in advance of this. In the cases, for example, of Beirut, we basically drew down to bare bones, as well as in Baghdad and in Rubio and in a couple other posts as well. So we've been very fortunate, obviously, but our embassies and our diplomatic facilities are under direct attack from a terroristic regime.
At the same time, Iran's Revolutionary Guards has announced that they have complete control of the Strait of Hormuz, a critical shipping route for oil and gas. Mohammad Akbarzadeh, a senior official with the Guards Navy, warned that any vessels attempting to pass through the waterway risk being damaged by missiles or drones. This came in response to U.S. President Donald Trump comments that the U.S. Navy is ready to escort oil tankers through the strategic Gulf shipping route, ensuring safe passage amidst the rising tensions. Next up, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel will continue its military actions in Iran and Lebanon with additional force. Netanyahu has also stated that Hezbollah is now dragging the Lebanese people in the conflict and has urged the Lebanese government to protect its people. Let's listen in to his statement.
צריך להבין שחיזבאללה גורר אותם למלחמה לא להם רק בגלל מותו של אותו מרצח המוני שאין להם שום קשר אליו. הם צריכים לדאוג לעצמם וכדאי שיעשו זאת בהקדם. אנחנו נמשיך לעשות מה שדרוש להגנתנו.
Following these remarks, an Israeli army spokesperson has also confirmed that Israel's military response would persist, noting that the operations are far from over. Let's listen in to what he has said.
מהמקום הזה יוצאים לתקיפות בלב טהרן, בדחיה בביירות ובכל מקום אחר בו קיים איום על ביטחון מדינת ישראל. אנחנו לא עוצרים לרגע. קצב ועוצמת התקיפות שלנו חסרי תקדים. המשטר האיראני ממשיך לספוג מכות קשות בכל מערכי הליבה שלו. הוא נחלש מיום ליום. אז מה עשינו הלילה? הלילה מטוסי חיל האוויר, בהכוונה מדויקת של אגף המודיעין, תקפו את מתחם ההנהגה האיראני בלב טהרן, המפקדה החשובה והמרכזית ביותר של המשטר.
Let's move on. U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to cut off trade with Spain on Tuesday after the left-wing Spanish government refused to allow U.S. planes to use its military bases for an attack on Iran. Trump expressed his displeasure during a meeting with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, calling Spain terrible for not supporting the U.S. in the Middle East. He also objected to Spain's refusal to raise defense spending as part of NATO commitments. Trump stated, "We're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain." The comment comes as U.S.-European relations remain tense over military and defense strategies. Listen in.
But some of the European, like Spain, has been terrible. In fact, I told Scott to cut off all dealings with Spain. Spain, first of all, it started when every European nation, at my request, paid 5%, which they should be doing. And everybody was enthusiastic about it, Germany, everybody. And Spain didn't do it. And now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases. And that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it. But we don't have to. But they were unfriendly. And so I told him, we don't want to, Spain has absolutely nothing that we need other than great people. They have great people, but they don't have great leadership. And as you know, they were the only country that in NATO would not agree to go up to 5%. I don't think they agreed to go up to anything. They wanted to keep it at 2%, and they don't pay the 2%. So we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain.
Next up, in a televised address, French President Emmanuel Macron warned Israel against launching a ground operation in Lebanon, calling it a dangerous escalation and a strategic error. He condemned Hezbollah for striking Israel first, saying it made a grave mistake. Macron announced he had ordered the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle to sail to the Mediterranean to support France's position. The French president also accused Iran of bearing primary responsibility for the escalating war in the Middle East. Listen in.
Depuis ces dernières heures, la guerre s'étend au Liban, à partir duquel le Hezbollah a commis la faute majeure de frapper Israël et de mettre les Libanais en danger. Israël serait en train de décider une opération terrestre. Ce serait là aussi une escalade dangereuse et une erreur stratégique. Le Hezbollah doit impérativement cesser toute frappe. Et j'appelle Israël à respecter le territoire libanais et son intégrité.
Next up, Colombian President Gustavo Petro has condemned the U.S.-Israel conflict with Iran, criticizing U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio's stance and calling for Latin America to lead efforts for dialogue. Speaking in Popayan on March 3rd, Petro warned of the looming threat of nuclear war, stressing that humanity is at risk, not just specific nations. Petro pointed out that Latin America, with its diverse origins, could play a crucial role in promoting peace and culture over war and barbarism. He also condemned the U.S.-Israel military strikes on Iran, citing the refusal to create an independent Palestinian state and oil interests as key factors behind the conflict. Let's listen to what the Colombian president had to say.
Y entonces, en un mundo en que se está destruyendo entre civilizaciones, amenazando con la guerra nuclear, América Latina tiene que plantear que es el momento del diálogo de las civilizaciones y no de la confrontación, la guerra y el exterminio entre civilizaciones, que es el momento de la cultura y no el momento de la barbarie, que de Múnich salió Hitler hacia una barbarie que no hemos olvidado, así los latinoamericanos no la hayamos sentido, pero ahora sí sentimos la barbarie, la sentimos en nuestro alrededor. Indudablemente estamos viviendo el riesgo de vida para toda la humanidad, porque no es un asunto de Teherán o de Tel Aviv o de Washington o de Abu Dhabi o Dubái, etcétera, ciudades mágicas si las vemos en fotos, pero hoy bombardeadas como bombardearon a Gaza. Encontraríamos que no es solo allá, sino que toda la humanidad está a punto de caer en un abismo que es la guerra nuclear, de la cual nadie, ni aquí mismo, nos escapamos.
Next up, U.S. President Donald Trump has met with German Chancellor Friedrich Merz at the White House. The two leaders held talks as the U.S.-Israel war against Iran intensified, pushing oil prices to the highest level since 2024. Trump stressed the war and trade deals would be key discussion points. Merz, after his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, arrived in Washington aiming to strengthen the partnership with Trump and support Germany's raised defense spending. The visit comes as Germany and France plan to deepen cooperation on nuclear deterrence in response to Russia's threats and the feared instability from the Iran conflict. Listen in.
Thank you very much, everybody. We have a meeting with a man who's become a friend of mine, and we've known each other for a little while in some very interesting times, and we get along. Our countries get along very well. We have a great affinity for each other.
We have to talk about our trade agreement, which I would like to be in place as soon as possible. And we have to talk about Ukraine. There are too many bad guys in this world, actually, and this is an issue we have to talk about because we all want to see this war coming to an end as soon as possible. But Ukraine has to preserve its territory and their security interests, and, well, we will talk about them.
This has been The Newsroom. I'm Rashan Gidwani for NewsX World.